Hello and welcome to Columbus Local Podcast. I'm Len D'Amico, and this is episode number 38. We have with us this evening more than a percussionist, but he does do a lot of percussionist type activity as a drummer. But we're going to find out what this guy's all about. Los Giles today.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Los, it's great to see you, man.
You too, brother.
I appreciate you making the time, and I can't keep track of you, man. I'm going to need for you to kind of maybe walk us through, everything that you're doing that's involved in music today.
Wow.
Well, currently, anyway.
Okay. The current rundown would be my main project originally is Gathering Stars. It's a project I do. It's a 6-piece outfit. 3 female singers up front. Then myself, guitar and bass. Doing kind of soul-infused rock. It's a little funk, a little, it's just good grooves. It's all about good stuff. It's all about what, that good stuff.
Is it all instrumental?
No. The 3 girls all do, the 3 women all sing. They trade off lead vocals. They harmonize with each other, but they also, one plays guitar, one plays keys, one plays flute. So you end up with keys, depending on the situation, 1 or 2 guitars, bass, drums. But yeah, all 3 of them sing and trade off depending on the song. So you got, 3 different voices, 1 band.
And I'm sorry, what was the name of that
It's
project?
Gathering Stars.
Gathering Stars.
Yes.
Are you playing live?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Where would we find you?
I don't think we have anything left this year. I say that like it's that much time is left in a year. But we've got, I believe we have some Natalie stuff coming up. We've got another Dick's Den thing coming up. But you can find the band. We just released an album a couple of months ago called Time. It's available on all the streaming platforms. There's also an EP. So there's Time. Then there's also one called Seasons. And we're actually in the midst of recording a new record right now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Where are you guys recording?
We recorded the basics for what we're doing now at Secret Studio, which is spot downtown here in Franklinton. It's been pretty cool. It's a little more earthy. Because like the last album is actually split up drum-wise between me and Carlton Smith, who just passed here recently. Most people would know Carlton from his time with Royal Crescent Mob. He also played with Hal and Maggie for a bit on their second release. He's been around town. He was a local drum legend.
Yeah.
And I kind of took the throne, as they say, yeah.
Yeah. Help fill in there.
Well,
missing spot.
Well, I mean, he left the band, and having done like some sessions with Michelle, the keyboardist, Michelle Ashita. She's also a longtime scenester. I met her back in the 90s. One of the other singers, Stephanie, I helped break her into the music scene.
Nice.
And then there's Carol Walker. She's her own solo artist on top of being a member of Gathering Stars. But yeah, when Carlton decided to leave the band, they called me up and I filled that role in. Yeah, and became part of the outfit as both drummer and songwriter. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's cool. It's good. It's a cool project. It's worth checking out, especially if you like groove-oriented music.
Oh, yeah. I'm all about that.
I had a feeling.
Oh, yeah.
I had a feeling.
Well, I love Dick's Den, too. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Why not?
That was a ball. I mean, yeah, it's right there in the window. Why not?
It's perfect.
Yeah, I like that spot.
Yeah, it's cool place. Cool stuff at Dick's Den, for sure.
Yeah.
So what else do you have going on? You're a busy man.
I do a lot of, for hire work. I'm what I like to call a drum hoe. When people wave money, I come running and
Yeah.
skipping. I'm currently like working on songs for two upcoming gigs, subbing for a group that I used to play with. But then I also picked up a New Year's Eve gig with a band that I've never played with. I was listening to their songs on the way here, their playlist on the way here, getting that together. So, yeah, I mean, I do a lot of for hire work. I'm that guy. You need a drummer, I will come through and play.
Yeah.
And then of course, Megabeth is still doing our thing when the mood strikes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she's the Energizer Bunny. She's got a lot going on. She's got a demanding day job on top of, her Megabath band,
Right.
which is a fun show. And you're obviously an integral part of that group.
Yes, I've been playing with them for a while, and I think it's funny that she's been doing those gigs here recently with Anne from 6 Foot Blonde.
Yeah.
Because that's another project that I was involved in. So it's like I don't want to call them bosses, but two of my boss ladies, playing together.
Make no mistake.
Never with me.
Make no mistake, they are bosses.
They are.
Each of them are.
Yes, but that's fine. You can't ask for better bosses.
Oh, I totally
Yeah,
agree.
they're both fun. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so that's cool.
Yeah, and then I'm still putting out my own music too. We kind of talked about, or at least we hinted at before we hit record, that, I'm also a songwriter, and I whenever the mood strikes, or whenever the songbird, as I like to call it, comes calling, I'll get up like first thing in the morning and record a song before I start my day. And then I'll just put it out on either my SoundCloud or on my Bandcamp or just whatever. If it's going to be part of a collection of songs, I'll usually save it and put it out on my Bandcamp. But if it's just like a standalone, it came to me, it hit me that day, and I get it done, then I'll put it out on my SoundCloud.
And you post.
Yeah.
And you advertise.
Well, you got to share them. Why, I mean, obviously they come to me for me, but what if it feels good, why not share it?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that groove too, man. I'm one of the people that when I see it, when you post, I'll click that link and I'll listen.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I put out two kind of, I guess what you would call deep funk / jazz albums this year alone.
Yeah.
I put out Nefarious Sunflower and 507 City within months of each other. And I think there's like 8 to 10 songs on each of those. And, they just came and I was like, well, this is a collection. Let me put this out. Sometimes when the songbird comes, you answer. It's that, I literally just wrote a song day before yesterday. It hit me at 4 a.m. I got up at 4 a.m, fumbled around until I found I started to try and get it on my iPhone. My iPhone was dead. So I tried to find one of my iPads to get the idea down. And then it ended up having to go down to the basement to the recording spot and get it fired up. By the time I actually got it there, it was almost a different song because I was like, all right, I'm trying to remember this hook, trying to remember this. By the time you get electronics fired up, you're like, all right, I remember this amount of it. So it morphed into something different. The song's actually called 4 a.m. I just sent that out as a demo to Gathering Stars to listen to. So We'll see. Yeah. The ladies are always like, why do you keep writing all these songs? I'm like, the songbird comes.
Yeah, so man, you've said the songbird comes, right? Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about the songbird, Los. Mm-hmm. What is the songbird?
It's what I like to call that inspiration or muse that just comes to you. At least for me, a song will come in my head while I'm sleeping, and I will wake up and try and transpose it to whatever I can find instrument-wise as quickly as possible and put it down. It's that gift of a song that comes from whatever is in the ether that's inspiring. I like to call it the songbird because it like birds when they come in the morning and start their songs, it's like tweeting at you. It's kind of what I like to think of as that whatever's bringing this music to me. I like to call it the songbird because that's what she's bringing me.
Wow, man. That's pretty deep, Los.
I don't know if it's deep, but it works.
But I've heard this, I mean, we're in our first year doing these episodes, and I've heard this concept from several.
Okay.
In just in Columbus, right? But there are intuitive
Oh, there are forces at play.
at play.
Yeah, and
And you're one of those folks that
I've
has a
been lucky
strong
to
presence.
tune into it. Yeah,
man.
And I try not to deny her when she comes, because she's bringing it to me for a reason.
Yeah.
And if I can, I'm going to put it down and put it out there for people to enjoy. Because if it strikes me enough to get up that early in the morning, it's worth sharing with people.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, many are glad that you do.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad because and I don't think it's caressing my own ego, but sometimes that song that you write is what it finds you when you're in a certain mood. There's something that you want to hear that fits that mood. And I've been lucky enough to be able to sometimes be the source of that song that fits my mood. And that may sound a tad on the ego side, but it's not about the ego. It's about creating textures and tones and vibe that, fits certain moods. And, who better to do the soundtrack to my world than me?
Right. Right, for sure.
Or it's not even me, it's whoever's inspiring the songbird.
And we don't know what that is.
No, and it's kind of funny. I was watching a podcast this week on YouTube from this guy Garza who plays in this metal band, and he was interviewing the Jared from Head PE, and he was talking about where they think that inspiration comes from. Whether it's from the ether or they were, pondering on the idea that it might be from past spirits that were songwriters passing their gift on to the next, putting it out there like, hey man, I know this cat's channeled in. Let's throw this at
bug
him.
him.
Yeah. Hey dude, wake up.
Or her.
Yeah, exactly.
Or whomever, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, wow.
And, it's a blessing and a curse because there's mornings where I'm like, dude, I'm too tired for this. But that's so good. It's like, I got to get up and put this down before I completely get it. Because it'll mess up my day if I completely space on something. I'm like, oh, that's so tasty. But I don't have time. And I'll be like, man, that was a good one. And then it slowly fades away. And you're like, I don't even remember what it was. But I remember it woke me up. And it was good enough for that. So, yeah.
And you have albums and albums.
Yeah.
And albums.
Oh, yeah.
Where are they all stuffed?
Most of my actual solo albums are on, I've uploaded them to my Bandcamp, but I've got multiple external drives at the house that just have songs, and there's so much stuff that I don't even post because I'm like, that's suspect. I'm just going to keep that one over here for me. Because it may turn into something later.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of technology today, too, is that, I record almost everything MIDI. So even once it fades out of mind, I've got it, tracked on, I'll play it on a keyboard and then record it into Logic. And so I'll come back to it later if it didn't transpose right, or I'm like, the idea's there, but it's not there. I can always come back to it and mod it later to the point where it's like, that's where it was trying to go. Because sometimes you just need that push and be like, all right, here's an idea, formulate on that. But most times it all comes in one sitting and it's just like, oh. Then you sit back at the end of it and it's just like, sweet. It's like art of any form. It's like when a painter gets up in the middle of the night and they grab the easel and just start splashing colors. You keep putting those colors on until it's right.
The vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to get to the vision.
Wow. That's pretty cool, man. Love it. And Gathering Stars gets a taste of some of these.
They have.
And becomes a collaboration.
Exactly.
Of the concept that you're
beautiful
bringing
because
in.
not almost, all the band members are writers. And that's one of the beautiful thing about Gathering Stars is I'm in a clique of great writers. Which doesn't happen. Usually there's one person, maybe two, but everyone in the band writes great stuff. And then, another thing that we kind of talked about pre-record, was like that wave, how the wave comes over and kind of smooths out the rocks and makes it, conform. That's kind of the beauty of being in a team of writers, is that sometimes when you write something for a band, you know that you've got that filter that you can pass it through that's going to make that jagged piece smooth and very acceptable.
Nice.
And I've got that with Gathering Stars.
Oh, that's so cool, man.
Oh, it's a great project to be a part of. I'm really digging it.
Yeah, I mean, that inspires me to go see your next show.
Oh, please do. It's fun. The girls alone make it wonderful.
How will we get advance notice that you're going to be playing somewhere
You
live?
can check. We usually post everything on Facebook. You can check out Gathering Stars Facebook page. I believe there is a gatheringstars.com or .org or something. I feel bad because I don't drive that bus, so I'm not sure about the .comness of it. But I know that we have definitely got a Facebook, and we promote the shows pretty heavily on there. And each of the individual members will produce, their own form of putting the word out. So, but yeah, definitely check out the Facebook page. Check out the 2 albums that we have out currently. They're streaming out in the ether. The streaming platforms. We're out there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Have you been solely a drummer? Is that your initial? Is percussion your initial love?
It is my weapon of choice.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was what I started on. I was talking to my mom about it not that long ago, maybe a year ago, because I was unaware, because I don't recall a time that drums weren't in my life.
Right.
But according to her, I started beating on things rhythmically from the age of 5. I've always beat on stuff. I'm a guy, that's what we do. We bam, bam.
Kitchen table.
Yes, exactly. But, she noticed the rhythmicness of it at like around 5. And that's when, the Sears catalog drum kits started coming into the house for Christmas and things like that. So they have literally been in some capacity in my life since I have a memory. And then, shortly after that, my stepdad, however you want to look at it, he was a drummer. So they were in the house once, that part of the family kind of came into play. So, I remember sneaking down to go play on his electronic Simmons kit back in the day, which alone tells you how back in the day that was. But, drums were always in some capacity there. I mean, I can remember certain toys as a child, but I always remember drums being there. Whether they were toy, like I said, the Sears catalog blue steel kit, or those kind of drum kits, But yeah, I don't recall a time in my life that they weren't there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you from Columbus?
Yes,
So you're a Columbus native?
I am.
And when you grew up in Columbus, which area of Columbus?
I started off on the hilltop. I am a hilltop kid. I know that's a bad word these days, but back then, the 70s / through the early 80s, the hilltop was cool. It was, it was a cool area to be a part of. But then I kind of branched north. And I've been mostly centralized on the north side of town, pretty much preteens, when you start developing your own, like the family moved to the north side, but then, at that point you start developing your own sense of self. So you start kind of going out into the world. And that was where more of the music scene that I first started landing on was too. I mean, because that brought me close to campus, which is kind of where I cut my teeth.
Nice.
That was back when there were bars on campus, back in the days when it was still dirty and gritty and had character. Yeah.
Oh yeah, good stuff on High Street.
Oh yeah, it's kind of sterile now. I mean, and I understand why, but back then, that filth and dearth,
Oh,
you
man.
got to have dirt on the ground for things to grow.
There's a lot of music there.
Yeah, it was. It was a beautiful scene. I mean, you had the Crazy Mamas, Sandros, or Paulos. There were all kinds of bars, Stashes. There was Bernie's. There were a lot of places for musicians to cut their teeth and grow from. Like I said, you got to have dirt on the ground to grow plants and trees. And campus was that spot. I mean, there was so much great music on campus back in, like when I hit the scene was like the early 90s. And, there was punk, there was funk, there was all the good things that make you go, ooh, give me a beer. I'm here. Yeah.
Were you easily picked up with other players? And how'd that go for you?
I mean, I transitioned, like when I first kind of started playing music, I started off doing more metal. I think Christian kind of hinted at that. Like when I met Mike Christian, I was playing more speed metal and, had the double bass kit and the whole nine. It was like, late 80s, early 90s when I met him. And, all the like hard rock and metal stuff was kind of just blooming. That was like, but that was where I started because especially back then, that's who were playing real drums. You got to think from the mid 80s, that's when drum machines kind of started taking over like more groove oriented music. So there was nothing from there for me to gravitate to. So, but with hard rock and metal, there were drums galore and they were big, cavernous sounding drums. I was like, ooh, noisy. Got to have some of that, So yeah, I started off playing metal and then, the earlier influences of my life came back in and the options to play more things like funk and soul and hip hop and all that kind of, because I grew up in a household where music was music. I mean, you'll hear all day people go, oh, I like all kinds of music. But what they mean is they like the different lanes in that one street, where, I mean, I grew up in a household with, Steely Dan, Johnny Cash, just whatever. It was all there. So it was all under the umbrella. So that's my understanding of music is there's only two types, good and bad, and that's even, that's a gray area within itself.
Oh, yeah. Lots of shades.
There are shades, and I've played my share of both.
Los, are there too many bands to mention?
Oh my God.
From the late 80s and the early 90s?
I mean, probably the first band that I made a scratch with on campus was a group called Bumbleflea. We kind of did avant rock, punk kind of stuff. We were heavily influenced by like Mr. Bungle. So like part of a song would be funk, then the other part of it would be punk, then the next part of it would be kind of artsy metal stuff, and we were all over the place, but that's, there were a lot of other chemical influences going on at the time that we'll call them. So the mind was exploding, so was the music,
right.
And then I hooked up with a group, kind of one of the earlier ska bands in Columbus called Trigger Happy. So I was doing ska, I was doing both bands for a while. Then I kind of moved on from those into kind of the predecessors of what became Soulful Villains. There was a group that I had called Burlap Sun, which was roughly about the same group, but as my writing progressed, so did the sound. So you kind of have to like chop off that head and be like, all right, this is a new beginning. We're scrapping all this old stuff. Some of the same guys, but we got a new coloring box, box of crayons. So we we went from playing with the 8 to the 6. You got to go back and forth sometimes. And, and then the long-standing project, which I'm probably one of my most proudest things that I've done, was Soulful Villains. And we were around for a good long time. Went through a few members here and there, put out a couple of releases, did a little bit of regional touring. Touring might be strong, but we played out a lot regionally, had some, we did a lot, for as long as we were around. And, the main album that we put out, The Nappy Man's Guide to Living, I still think I think it holds up today.
Cool.
It's a very solid album, and I'm very proud of it still. And then, there's so many other things that branch after I left that. I got into a group called Mescalito, which led me into doing the main guy that was driving Mescalito, Teo. He went to OSU. He kind of was in with their music department, and we ended up doing a bunch of musicals with OSU. So he would bring me in as the drummer for those projects, which was awesome. Got to play, a bunch of musicals, and which led me into venues that I never thought I'd get to play, like the Southern Theater, the Rife Theater, all these other like theaters that, the punk and funk bands weren't going to get into.
Right.
Yeah, so that was cool. So yeah, I've done like maybe 12 or 13 musicals. And then there's a bunch of, like I said, I'm a for hire drummer.
Yep.
Someone calls, I've played with, there's so many names, and if you're listening, I'm not excluding anybody on purpose.
Right. That's why, it's tough to name, and you don't want to forget.
No,
because
they were all great. They're all
so
part
much.
of it.
Right.
They're all part of the journey.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, was your Songbird experience coming in from the very beginning?
Oh,
or
definitely.
Okay.
I mean, I was, the main writer for a lot of the Bumblefleet stuff. That was kind of my first, I can't even call that my first experience with the Songbird, but that was kind of when we both kind of coming out of the shell. I mean, I've been writing music probably since some of the first bands, just trying to figure, doing it very wrong, by the way, but enjoying that ride and that journey of learning. Writing songs came almost immediately after learning how to play, because, the voices start, and if you don't put them out there, those voices will lead you to the loony bin, because, those voices are real, man. But no, I've been writing.
You act on those, though.
I do.
Yeah.
Because they're, they come from somewhere for a reason.
Yep.
I mean, and if you don't figure out how to channel them, they will drive you crazy. That's why people talk about how nutty Picasso was. They talk about how nutty, just any kind of artist who found a way to channel that voice. With that comes the infamy of how crazy you are trying to figure out how to channel that voice, because we go through streams of it. Like, certain artists will go through their blue period or their this period. I went through my punk, my funk, my metal, my hip hop. I've gone through every avenue, and I like blending them all. If I could, I have put them all together on a record, because music is schizophrenic. Especially if you're enjoying it the right way, it's going to take you everywhere. I kind of feel bad for artists who find themselves stuck in a lane. It's like, why would you put yourself in one hole? Jump around, enjoy it, even if you're bad at it. I mean, I've done gigs that I probably should not have done, but I enjoyed every second or I enjoyed learning from it, because every day is supposed to be a day under the learning tree. So even if you're just learning things you don't want to do, get out there and learn them. On a 24-hour notice, I took a gig playing with a country band. Their guitar player, or the one that they hired, their drummer backed out at the last minute. And he was just like, he was a friend of mine. He was like, dude, would you be interested in going out for a couple of months playing with this country band? And he caught me on the right night with enough tequila in my system. And I was like, hell yeah, dude. I'll do that. I ain't got nothing going on for the next couple of months. Yeah. Next thing you know, I'm in Rock Springs, Colorado. Or, I was in a van on the way to Rock Springs, Colorado, listening to their music on my Walkman, with a bottle of tequila in the back of the van, just learning songs. We got there, and that was an interesting learning experience. I learned a lot of things I don't want to do on that trip. Or things I will never do again on that trip.
That you don't want to talk about now.
I mean, it was fun. I had a lot of fun. Yeah. I mean, but how can you not when you're, when you're loopy on tequila in another strange city, city to city, man. I was, if you can, picture being, a black guy with blonde hair showing up at a country bar.
Right.
In, what was that? That was the winter of '99, so we rolled up into Rock Springs, Colorado on a Sunday. Like we would do a residency at each town that we go to. So we would play that city for like a week. You know, we rolled into Rock Springs, Colorado at this little place, peanut shells on the floor. Here comes this, and it was a Sunday night, so they were doing karaoke. So here comes this strange black guy with blonde hair, you know, getting up to do karaoke in this bar. Nobody knows me, and they're just looking at me like weird. And I'm doing, I did Queen, what did I do? Oh, Crazy Little Thing Called Love, you know, and I'm sitting there with a bottle, you know, got a little glass of tequila in my hand, singing Queen's Crazy Little Thing Called Love, and all these would-be cowboys are just looking at me like, who the hell is this dude? You know, and then I got to know a lot of them throughout that week I'd be there.
Yeah.
But it was an interesting trip, dude, you know, and I'll never forget that trip, mainly because there was just like this one old, like kind of, you know, I hate to use the term redneck dude, but
that's what was going on.
That's what it was, you know. So he comes up to me, and I'm assuming that his only exposure to black people with blonde hair at that point was Dennis Rodman. So he would call me Rodman the whole week that I was there. He's like, Rodman, come drink with me, Rodman. I'm like, dude, my name is not Rodman. You know that. And he's like, dude, sign this CD for me. I'm like, first of all, not Rodman. Secondly, I'm not even on this CD, dude. I just took this gig like 24 hours ago. But he's like, dude, you sign the CD, I'll buy you a shot of tequila. I was like, give me that Sharpie. Your pal Rodman. Where's the tequila?
Oh, man.
You know?
That's cool.
Yeah, it was fun. It was, you know, but that's what we do this for, isn't it? You know, that whole, just go out there, throw yourself to the wind.
To express and to, you know, I sometimes, through the course of some of these episodes, talk about the state of Satori, you know, where you have an opportunity when you're playing to just to become the music.
Oh, yeah.
And you're channeling.
Oh, yeah.
And when you experience that, I think that's where it's at.
Yeah, and you
it's
know,
probably
there's so much
similar to the songbird, I would imagine. I don't know that I get a songbird, but I get inspired, you know, to put something down sometimes. Not as frequently as you, but
it comes way too often, and hence I don't sleep.
Yeah, that's
I
cool.
just don't sleep, but I've got the music to show for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, your catalog is impressive.
It's ridiculous, and that's not even the stuff that I've put out with bands. I mean, if you look at my Bandcamp, I'm not even sure how many releases are on there anymore. I don't keep count, and I don't space them out like an artist should. I'm more of that, if it comes, put it out, because why am I sitting on it? You know, we're not guaranteed tomorrow, so why would I sit on something that's going to die with me on a hard drive? You know, put it out there, because that's what the Songbird gave it to you for. Share it.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
That's cool.
Like I said, she's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
You know, I don't sleep, but I've got good music to show for it. Or at least I hope it's good. Some people like it. Some people are like, dude, that's just... Because it's all over the place, you know. If you check out my Bandcamp, there's metal tracks on there. There's funk tracks on there. There's whatever. There's any and everything. Because that's music.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're also involved in radio work.
Yes.
Rose. Talk a little bit about what that's about for you.
Well, I am the host, and as I like to call it, the weekly travel companion for Trip to Groove Fantastic. That airs on WCBE. I'm on Saturdays from 8 to 10 p.m. The show is kind of a travel show of sorts. Like every week, I'll pick a destination. It's usually a destination or a themed destination. And I'll go to, especially if it's a locale, I'll find artists that are from that area that play groove-oriented music. And that means jazz, funk, reggae, pop, anything that grooves, hence the name Trip to Groove Fantastic. And I'll create a 2-hour list of artists from that area or groups rooted from that area. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's a good way of putting some good funky and just grooving oriented music, like a vibed out trip playlist, on the radio, which you don't really get that much.
Right. You don't.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I need to spend more time on that station.
There's a lot of cool stuff. It's one of the most eclectic stations, which is what drew me to that station, because you can literally within an hour hear Americana, funk, reggae, jazz. Realistically, you can hear that in a 20-minute block. And if you're as musically schizophrenic as I am, that makes you feel at home. Like basically even what led me into radio is I was playing so much that I hit a burnout spot. And I was like, I need a break away from playing music. But there was no way I could completely get out of music. And, I was a fan of the old DJ characters of like Wolfman Jack and those type of DJs who would come on and put out a vibe and make you want to listen to whatever was going on, both on the music and what they were saying in between, Jack. So that stuff, because that's a part of what music is. It's those characters, and it's that vibe that you can create. And so when I hit that burnout spot, I wanted to do something outside of music, but still within music that didn't require me playing or running sound. Because there was literally a point in my life where every night of the week I was in a bar, either playing or running sound. And there, for a while there in the early 90s, I was also a doorman at Stashes and Little Brothers. So literally every night of the week I was in a bar.
Wow.
Yeah, and you do that for 10, 12 years, you're going to get burnt out.
Oh, yeah.
So I decided to go to broadcasting school, and that's when, it just made sense to, radio just made sense, all the sense in the world. It kept me in the field, but out of the field,
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
Good
cool.
for you.
Yeah, it's been a blessing, man. I mean, the show's done well. A couple of years ago, some people were really nice enough to nominate the show for one of the best radio shows in town on the, the Columbus Dispatch's Best of Columbus, whatever that they do every year.
Right.
It was a surprise, and it was cool that, I think, we talked about it earlier. Unlike music, you don't get that immediate feedback that you get from music. When you're on a stage and you're connecting with a crowd, you get that immediate feedback, whether they like you or you don't. With radio, you have no clue until you bump into someone, later that day or a week later, and they're like, hey, man, I like the show. It's like, oh, cool. Someone's actually listening. Because you don't know. Because when I hit record and then hit stop, it's silent. There's no feedback. But, apparently I've been lucky enough to touch a nerve with the show, and people are digging it. And, thank you to all those who've been tuning into the show and dig it. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it, man. It's cool. And it's another way of expressing that, the art. And plus turning people on to music, which is what I do on stage. I get to do it through the radio too, which is awesome. Turning people on, it's like, it's a job. Who knew?
It's a job that you are taking on, and it's awesome.
And, I love it. There's nothing better than bringing people joy, whether it's literally on stage or, I was just at a gig. We just did a happy hours with Gathering Stars, and I had 15, 20 people come up and it's like, dude, I really love your radio show. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. That's cool.
That's very cool.
It's cool to get that feedback and just know that you're hitting people right. You're creating vibe for them. And they're like, dude, I tune in every week. It's like, right on. Cool. Anytime you can bring people joy, and, you can't over or underappreciate that, because if you can put a smile on somebody's face, that's awesome.
Beautiful.
Man. It is. I mean, when you're on stage and you look out and you see someone in that moment and they're just having a good time because you've released them from the chains of the day, there's no better feeling. Or to hear someone say, dude, I religiously listen to your show. It means you're touching a nerve and you're taking people away from the bothers of the day. There's, that's what we're on the planet for, is to help each other out. And when you can plug into that and make it happen, there's no better feeling.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I love it, man.
Yeah, and you're using all these facets to do it, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, once again, why stick yourself in one lane?
Right.
Swerve when you drive.
Do you
Not
have-
literally. Drive for
Do you have other?
responsibly.
Do you have other lanes that we haven't discussed?
I like to think in I like to think that we're all boundless when we give ourselves the opportunity to be. I mean, and I don't know, maybe it's because it's the way I've had to make myself open up to certain things that I find it, if you're going to open yourself out and put yourself out there, why not touch every lane that you can? Don't limit yourself. Don't just be the drummer. Don't just be the guitar player. Don't just be any one thing. Put yourself out there because you might surprise yourself, and I have. And if I just stuck to one lane, being the quote unquote dumb drummer, I don't use that term. Other people have used it. If you allow yourself to, though I have put that costume on when I don't want to be bothered. I will play that role when it's called for. Well, huh? What? Count to 4.
Oh, I don't drink.
I'll put on whatever hat the party calls for, man. But yeah, never force yourself into one lane. Even if you're really good at that lane, branch out.
Yeah,
The
great
worst case
advice.
scenario, you're going to learn from it. Even if it's just learning that you don't want to do that or that you shouldn't do that. You're not going to know till you try. Put yourself out there. You might surprise yourself, or better yet, you might surprise somebody else.
That's great advice.
Hell yeah, dude.
Great advice.
Yeah, I'm all about it.
You got a funny road story or crazy happening that you want to share with the people?
Wow. I mean, the country trip within itself was a great one. I know Mike Christian shared our Pete Way scenario when he was on here.
Utterly
You should
amazing.
check out that episode, by the way. Mike Christian, it's like my big brother on the scene.
He's
Love
a
that
beautiful,
dude.
beautiful man.
Oh, yeah. Got nothing but love and respect for the brother.
As do I.
Yeah, he's awesome. Guitar and sound. He's the dude.
Just a good person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, he helped. He was that guide, it's like when you're trying to make a hole in something, you need to drill out that guide hole. Christian was like my guide. He was like, all right, I got to follow that path. That's my dude, man. He opened doors, and I love him for it. That's my dude. But man, there's so many, and maybe it's because a lot of the 90s were literally a blur. I get reminded of the good times that I had.
That's good.
And I try not to hold on to moments because I'm too busy trying to live in the now. So sometimes they'll hit me. I'm like, oh yeah, I did that, didn't I? But I'm too busy like, oh man, what am I doing today? Ooh, what's going to happen? What are we going to create today? So, I mean, I have a lot of good memories, and music has been a beautiful like canvas of like good moments for me. And I feel bad that I can't, pull them up on cue, but
Oh no, it's okay.
but then again, like I said, I drank and did a lot of illicit things during the 90s. And I think we were talking about earlier, I don't remember most of my 30s. I honestly don't. Which, that's not bragging in that cool rock and roll sense. It's because there's some stuff I wish I did remember.
It's alarming.
It is. I just had a friend tell me, he was telling me about a show, and he was like, dude, this show was awesome, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh man, I wish I could have seen that. He was like, dude, you played that show. I'm like, for real? Damn. I've missed a lot of good shows.
Oh man. Well, you carried them.
Well, hopefully.
You drove the percussion.
I drove something.
Oh man. Well, I hope you keep driving. I hope the Songbird remains good to you.
Oh, when she's done with me, she'll move on to the next.
How do you know she is female? You feel that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't recall too many times throughout life that guys have given me this many gifts. And
But for
she's
so
always so
long,
sweet
though.
about it. Well,
For so long,
when you find the
right?
right
Like,
one, she keeps
usually
giving.
that doesn't, that doesn't go as long as you're talking about this particular. So it's the same type, it's the same entity the whole time for you, the songbird. Do you feel that?
I don't know if it is the same because, like I said, because she
A
has brought me
consortium.
like straight death metal songs, but then the next day she'll have me wanting to write something like smooth jazzy, and then she'll come talking to me about like some hip hop, and it's like, yo, throw these bars down, and then she'll come to me and be like, nah, I'm in the mood for some more metal. No, I want to be funky. So I don't know if it's one bird. It may be a nest of birds. I don't know.
Right.
But I equate it all to that inspiration, that voice that comes. Because, in the end, I don't hear her voice. I hear the song that she's singing. So, yeah, and I hope she never goes away. And I hope that she's out spreading the word into someone else's ear right now. Because the world always needs music, man.
Oh,
We
yeah.
always need art. And who's to say that's not the same bird that inspired the person that painted that painting? She might just be that angel of gifts. Like, hey, here, have some of this. Have some of this. As long as she keeps giving to the world, and I'm always that funnel for her. I'm here for her.
It's amazing, man. It really is.
It's a beautiful thing, but at the same time, you know, what can I say? That's art, man. I mean, be you, like I said, a painter, a sculptor, musician, or even a spoken word artist. Inspiration comes, the people who are trying, they're just regurgitating. But when the songbird comes, you can tell when she's actually singing to that person because it's like, yeah, you were inspired. You weren't just sitting down trying to create. You were inspired, and it shows in the work. You can tell when someone phones it in, man. And that's not the songbird. Songbird don't use a phone. She comes tweeting, and you just funnel what she says, man.
Amazing.
Yeah,
It's beautiful.
I think so. I've gotten joy from the things that she's brought me, and I hope, like I said, I would like more sleep, but we don't get to choose that.
Right.
Yeah.
What is a typical day for you, Los?
My days usually start around 5 a.m. I get up and start working on Trip to Groove Fantastic, trying to get some work done before dad duties kicks in. Then I get my son up and dressed and off to school. Then I come home, try and get a little more work done on the show before I, head into work the 9 to 5. And then I come home and it's usually a rehearsal. I'll come home, grab something to eat, change clothes, head off to a rehearsal, or I'm studying music for an upcoming gig, or I'm trying to refine that, that gift that the songbird brought me. Wow. It's kind of cool to put something down first thing in the morning, forget about it because the rest of the day grabs your mind, then come home and hit play and be like,
Oh, yeah.
I can see where I was trying to go with that. And then jump right back on that road and see where it takes you,
You're playing percussion, but you're also doing melodies as well, right?
Yeah.
What are you writing with?
I mostly write on keyboards. I do play some guitar, some bass. Less these days just because the arthritis is catching up. Keyboards I can still manage more of.
I feel that.
Yeah, but the neck, and necks are all different. So sometimes the wrong neck will just have the hands yeah.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, exactly. So mostly these days I'm writing on keyboards. So I'll go down to the recording spot, pull the keyboard out, put down whatever idea, play bass on it, guitar chords, piano lines, and then I'll pull my electronic drum sample pad over and play the drum parts on that, and then put the idea down, and then, like I said, give it a little space and see if the words come. Sometimes they're instrumentals, sometimes there's words there. Like I was saying, the 2 albums that I put out a couple of months back, I put out one on my birthday this year. That one was Nefarious Sunflower. and the one that I followed it up with, 507 City, they're both instrumental albums because there was no words there. I mean, there's, like I said, they're kind of jazzy, funky, deep funk cuts. It's just groove oriented music, something for everybody. But sometimes there's words there, or there's a lyrical melody, and then it's up to me to figure that out, decode that. So sometimes I'll get down there and I'll put a whole song down, and I'll have a vocal line, so I'll hum that into the mic, then come back later and decode what's supposed to be said there.
We see 507 associated with you, Los. What's that connection?
507 is actually Los upside down. It goes back to the days of pagers.
Oh, wow.
So whenever, you get a call, a number on a pager and it said 507 at the end of it, you would know it's from me. We won't say why we needed those codes for pagers back in the day. Let's just say we needed them.
Nice.
But, that is what the 507 comes from.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was always coded 8008 at 85 upside down on the calculator.
Boobs, actually. Yeah.
That always got a kick out of our household of two brothers and myself. We were spelling that kind of thing. But 507 is very cool, man.
I like it. It's descriptive, and it's it's a signature thing for me. It's like, and it's become kind of a hallmark that, even bandmates, certain bandmates in certain bands will call me 507, or even, it's kind of funny because we live in that abbreviation generation, as I like to call it, where some of my bandmates just call me 5.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm like, so I'm the S now?
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, Los, episode 38. Los Giles, really appreciate your time this evening.
Oh,
we
brother,
got
I appreciate it.
little more in-depth understanding where you're coming from and delivering the gift of music in the lanes that you've described tonight. And I really thank you for that.
I appreciate you having me, and appreciate what you're doing with the show. I've got to hear some cool stories from some of my friends or just people that I know around town or have seen. It's kind of cool because it's given me an insight on some of the musicians that I've seen play but don't know.
Right.
So now I've kind of feel like I kind of connected with them as well. So thank you for doing this.
Oh, it's awesome. It's fun. It's so much fun.
Well, anytime there's music involved, it should be fun.
Absolutely. Well, Los, we'll put some links with your radio work, also a link to your show, or how we can tune into that.
Okay.
And then some of the projects that you've mentioned tonight, just how we can stay in touch with your music.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, brother.
And so, Los Giles, episode 38, Columbus Local Podcast. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.